Hello. Welcome to the Secret Keepers episodic program Q&A. I'm Stan Shields, the festival programming manager, and I am so excited to have you all join us for this conversation. I just want to make sure to say up front that in this Q&A, we'll be assuming you've already seen the episodes in the Secret Keepers episodic program. So if you haven't seen them yet, I recommend you go over to SIFF, so watch.siff.net, where you can also find the SIFF sections on your Amazon Fire TV, Android TV, Apple TV, Roku, but any of those ways can get you to the program. But take a look at the program, because we're going to be going in a little deeper than you may be ready for if you haven't actually gotten the information of viewing first. So with that said, I want to go ahead and introduce the filmmakers who joined us today, and they will raise their hands so you know which one they are. So first up is Paige Feldman from Interrobang Forever. Next, from the Gays, we have Larry Powell and Angelica Robinson. And we also have Shard Williams, the writer, creator, and star of Neighbors. So what I would look to do to kind of kick things off a little bit is to have each of you tell us a little bit about your initial ideas or inspiration for your series. And I think the best way to do that is to kind of start off, and I guess I'll do it in the order you are on my screen. So that would mean that Larry will be the first one to go.
I wrote a play called The Gays No Homo, and I had a staged reading of it in 2019. And in 2020, my community, the theater community, and also just like the entertainment community at large, began to speak up against microaggressions and systemic racism in these institutions. And that's what the piece centers around and on. And so I said, I have a piece to speak in this moment. And I hit up my beautiful friend, Angelica Robinson, and said, hey, I want to make my play into a new media series. And she was like, okay, let's do it, in the middle of the beginning of COVID, really, because we did this we started in April, really. So.
And Angelica, once that initial contact was made, how did you and Larry start to work on the project?
Well, the initial contact. I mean, Larry and I worked together on the stage reading in 2019. So in 2020, in April, when the world like first shut down, and Larry had this idea to make it into a new media series. We were just like, all right, no problem, and we can do this. And we got together with a wonderful team of brilliant collaborators and executive producers to really hone out how we were going to break the project down and make it into an actual series and reformat it in that way so that it could be palatable for new media audiences.
Great. Paige, can you tell us a little bit about how your show came to be?
Sure. So I was writing horror, which is not at all what Interrobang is. And my writing group said, why are you making this funny? As regards my horror script. And I thought, because I can't help it. So I then went into a brief period of introspection and realized that I am a comedy writer and I love romance. And why am I not writing that? So I just wrote out my biggest anxieties, and most of them are about just being honest and open. And the most difficult time to be honest and open is when you're, naked in bed with somebody or in a relationship with somebody, and you're not in those throes of passion anymore. You're in this moment of like, oh God, I'm naked. What the heck is happening? And so I just started writing vignettes, basically based on my own anxieties about bodily functions, or where is this relationship heading, or what the heck did we just do? And that was that was it. That was Interrobang.
So did you also incorporate experiences or anecdotes from other friends and family that you knew, or were they primarily things that you kind of invented whole cloth on your own?
It's tough to say, because like Forever is about a woman who really wants to get married, and her boyfriend is just not super into it. And that's something that a lot of my friends have experienced. And the conversation about when are we going to get married is something that a lot of straight women, which I am one, kind of ruminate over a lot. and the men in our lives don't seem to necessarily feel the same way about it. So I so it's like, it's a combination. It's about things that I talk about with my friends, things that happen to people. There's an episode called Crying where it's about a woman who just starts crying after an orgasm because her life is falling apart. And I've never experienced that, but I know that some people have.
Yes.
So yeah.
Definitely. Cool. Thank you. Yeah, so next up, Sharad, I'd love to hear a little bit about Neighbors and its origins.
Hi. So in the pandemic, you know, the Broadway community, the theater community in New York City completely shut down. And I had already been kind of itching to work on camera, and I just quite wasn't getting the opportunities that I wanted to. And then the pandemic happened, and then I realized this is the perfect time where it feels like all bets are off. Everybody's level to the ground, everybody's at square one, and why not try to stretch your wings on your own? And I really felt like, as a Black gay man, being a part of an underrepresented community, especially in TV film, that's like what I know and what I love and who I am. And why not take a step forward and introduce myself to the world in something that is completely and utterly me? So hence Neighbors, which was completely birthed from like the topic of the show is like one of those situations where you're like, I'm not saying it's all true, I promise. It's loosely based on real life and like loosely based on friends of mine, hence why some of us have our real names, a very Issa Rae a la concept. And you know, I just wanted to jump and fly and go. And it was kind of scary because we didn't really conceive it until maybe like mid or end of July of last summer. And by September we were filming. And I don't know how that happens, but like, thank you, Jesus. Like truly like one of those moments where it just was divine, I guess, and it all fell into place. But yeah, it was me and my best friend just leading the way, telling this story and this situation that we kind of sort of were in, but not to the extremity of what it is in the show. But yeah, and I really just wanted to amplify, you know, myself as a Black voice and my friends as people of color and actors who right now in the theater community aren't able to work. So, you know, let's all give ourselves a chance to shine in new areas and new avenues in TV and film.
Excellent, thank you. Since you kind of answered a question I was going to ask you in regards to whether you had intended it to be part of the pandemic as in the plot from the beginning, I would like to kind of pivot a little bit to the larger question of current events in the last year, a broader question for people. I think I would like to start off this by talking a little bit about how the pandemic has affected the work you've created, or how social events that have happened in the last year have affected your work and maybe inspired it, and what your goals are, and if they've changed due to the changes in the country in the last, let's call it 8 months, 12 months. And maybe we'll start that question, if you don't mind, start with Larry to talk about more of the goals and aspirations beyond just the recording and presentation of the show for you and Angelica.
I really believe that artists are meant to speak to the times. I'm a firm believer in that. I'm a firm believer in that making art is inextricably connected to activism. And so in making this piece, like while we were also on the front lines and protesting, and I mean, like to the point where I was like, I always say that I was giving notes, and this is a true story, from a jail cell in Louisville, because while we were in post-production, I went and flew to Louisville, Kentucky to be on the front lines for justice for Breonna Taylor. And in that moment, I said, wow, you know, yeah, I tried to call my mama, but I called my best friend and I was like, can you call Joey Scoma on three-way? Because my phone died on the way to the protest, and we were talking about episode 111 and it was just like, here I am in this jail cell with all these beautiful men who I was on the front lines with. And I'm in a corner doing something that means the world to me. And I think that as long as I continue to make sure that my work means the world to me, it will mean something to the world. And just by as a byproduct, have some impact, like have some real, authentic, lasting impact. You know, that's my take on things. And so it did change, because before it's like, oh, I want to get on, right? Oh, I want to get produced, or oh, I want to, like, I want it. But now it's like, oh no, I actually just really want to tell my truth, like say what I'm write what I want to lie about, actually, and actually hold myself accountable. Say, how much truth are you willing to confess in this moment, and find the people who can help to bring that out and support that.
Yeah, that's what I've been hearing from all of you. I just wanted to make sure to highlight that. And thank you for being so eloquently able to do that. Yeah, sorry.
If I may add to that, every single person that was on the Gays' team, we, like Larry and I, we really did take the time to really cultivate a culture and a team that was seriously all about artivism and activism at the center of the storytelling. Every single person involved in this project. Our first AD co-producer, she was out protesting every single week, like in between shooting days, which our days were still 12-hour days. We were still on the weekends or in between anything, getting information out to voters, because it was an election year as well. We were getting information out to voters. We were protesting and active across the nation. Larry literally flew to not just Louisville, but also to DC. And we were actually we were in post-production, but we were also in a live production of putting the actual shows on. So we were doing a live show at the same time while we were doing post for some of the other episodes. And it was a very intense, high production time, and all of us were extremely active, and among literally losing family members due to COVID and other health issues. So everyone was dealing with grief. So there had to be a type of community within our own team to allow space for us to all still be humans, not just filmmakers, but to be able to express and say, I'm hurting today because I just lost my grandmother or my aunt or someone. So to be able to have the space to be our big, bold selves, but also take the space when we needed to, so that we can then, come back and create a beautiful, beautiful product. And that was the one thing that was so unique about this team. It was not like any other production. I've been in the business for 20 years. Unlike any other production, when you have a whole team that they all have the same thought process and they are all in alignment with, this is what we are about. It is all about the artivism.
Yes, thank you. It is a small editorial aside on my part about the program. Definitely one of the things that I wrote down as I was getting close to finalizing the things that were going to be in the program was the idea of authenticity. I think that was a thing that was something that all of the films, all of the episodes in the show, though I may call it secret keepers, they were authentic secrets, and they were authentic things that people hide and hold, and sometimes at their own detriment, because out of fear or out of need or whatnot. And I think that that definitely speaks to that. I appreciate that. A thought that I have had for a little bit of time now is about the idea also, just to talk about that idea of authenticity, is the idea that in this time, the pandemic and the social protests both brought us to a point where a lot of us are confronting fears that maybe we have long hidden from the world and from ourselves sometimes. And I think that is part of, I think, also what attracted me to the pages in Terabang, is that that's definitely about people revealing their secrets and about opening up in ways that maybe they don't feel comfortable in any other context, but this specific moment that has allowed them that opportunity. I'm a little curious, well, Sharad, I'm a little curious about what the next things are in terms of your plans for your series. I know you have a YouTube channel that it's on, and I'm wondering if there are plans with any of the collaborators you had to kind of go further in these regards and explore more things.
Definitely. It to piggyback off of Larry and Angelica, I definitely found a newfound sense of how to get something done the right way, because when your intentions are in the right spot, everything really, really just snowballs in the right direction. And I agree, like I didn't quite realize it fully at the time that I was building a team of people who were on the same page as me, which was it was about the experience and growing as humans and people first, and not necessarily about how fast we can get to Netflix and HBO, for example. So I love this concept of that's not necessarily new to me, but I'm thinking about it in a different way after listening to Angelica about activism and art really going hand in hand, because you can kind of like make it about everything else but that, but at the core of it, like in the center of it, it's about the human experience, right? And our activism and where we are in the world, it completely connects to like the art we're telling. So in that regard, I just feel like as like, again, like being Black and gay, I feel like there needs to be more on the screen of us. And it needs to be connected to this amplification and shedding light on we're real people living real things. You know, everything doesn't have to be campy or one dimensional or one note. And there's so many different ways to show what we go through, be it in LA or New York or everywhere. So I definitely am very inspired now that I know I can do this, because the first step was like, can we pull this off? Like I'm brand new to everything, because it was literally me pulling this train, like casting director, showrunner, writer, executive producer, star, like, you know, it was like Shonda Rhimes, please take over my body and like guide me to the finish line. Like definitely that energy. But I mean, I love it. I wouldn't change a thing about it. And I'm so bit by the bug that absolutely stand. Step 2 is maybe season 2. We're gonna like push through. Like I have like a special edition episode that I've been brewing on, like I want to kind of do for Pride Month. And but that's a secret that I probably shouldn't have said out loud, but that's okay. But yeah, yes, like I am so on this journey to grow and to push myself and to dig deeper into the layers that make up Sherrod and what else Sherrod can do other than Broadway. Almost like it was a blessing that Broadway shut down, because you really have to examine yourself and what it means to be a whole person and a whole artist. So yes, I hope and pray and know that there's more to come.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. So Paige, a little bit of information maybe from you about what the next steps are for Terabang and what is on the horizon for you in terms of things you're creating or following up on. More horror, more comedy. What are we looking at?
No more horror. I'm a comedy writer. I write romantic comedies. I want to reinvigorate the genre for the 21st century, not to sound super grandiose, but it's just been so gentrified by this like tall, strong white Christian man comes and saves the short, cute, slightly neurotic young Christian girl, and they fall in love and live happily ever after in this straight white world of Nancy Meyer's Large Kitchens. And I'm slightly jealous of the kitchens, but you know, like there's more than that. And so in Terabang, just to like piggyback off what Larry and Angelica and Sherrod is saying, so brief detour, I went to law school, and then I decided I did not want to be a lawyer. I had to tell stories. I was outlining stories in the margins of my PowerPoints instead of paying attention to case law. It was not for me. But the thing that I gained from that is a bunch of peers who are making a huge difference in the world. I have friends who are at the ACLU who are public defenders, and especially in 2016, starting then, I was thinking, well, what the hell am I doing? I'm just, telling stories. And that's a huge thing. And so I decided that if I'm going to be telling stories, if I'm not going to be with my friends on the front lines, making changes in policy and helping people who deserve a good defense, I need to be doing something intentional and good. So with Interrobang, even though all the stories were very personal, they came from people who I knew, from my own experiences, from my own anxieties, I wanted to expand this idea of the romantic comedy through who I cast. And so I intentionally said, I am not casting white people unless they are the absolute only people in the world who can play these roles. And if I do cast a white person, their counterpart is not going to be white. It's going to be a person of color. And so I have an amazing cast. 10 of 13 are Black, Indigenous people of color. And I honestly, it wasn't even a hardship to turn away the white actors. Like, y'all are great, but we don't need more of that. And also, as far as what's next, I'm currently working on an audio romantic comedy series called How to Fall in Love the Hard Way. The pilot's out on podcast platforms. It is Jewish love story, which I'm Jewish. I can't help but write these kinds of characters because that's who I am. And it's set in St. Louis, which is my hometown. And the two supporting characters are a Korean American and a Chinese American. Well, they're not even supporting. There's three leads. There's a white Jewish woman, Korean American woman, Chinese American woman, and they all just like find love, they find friendship, and it's based a lot on my own experiences growing up in St. Louis, the people who I met there. I was in orchestra. My friends were either Jewish or Asian of some sort. It's so as far as what's next for me is just continuing to make these like fun romantic comedies that twist people's expectations of what a romantic comedy looks like, that push forward ideas of feminism and social justice and like non-heteronormativity. There's 2 episodes of Interrobang that feature LGBTQ couples. It's not the one that's showing in SIFF, but hopefully Interrobang after the festival run will be available for free on Vimeo and everyone can see these love stories. So that's my.
Oh, that's I know we only have a minute or so left before people can go, but I love since you brought up the Vimeo part, I talked a little bit about Sherrod on YouTube. I'd love it if we could take a moment for each of you to say where people can find those follow-ups, so that you can get that call out in the cast here. So what is there a web address or a way people can search for Interrobang?
Yeah. So go to interrobang.tv and it'll take you to a page on my website, and there's a contact form. So if you want to know when there's going to be more episodes, just fill out the contact form and I'll get back to you.
Excellent. And how can people keep following up if there is another season 2, maybe, fingers crossed, for Neighbors? How will they find that out?
Yeah, if you head over to our website, neighbors-series.com, you'll see everything you need to know. And then welcome to the neighborhood.
Excellent. And Larry and Angelica, for those people who at home have not perused the website deeply, you might also have missed that we are also showing Mother's Milk, another collaboration between Larry and Angelica in our feature section of the New American Cinema Competition. And we're very excited to have that as well. If you want to tell them how they could follow up and find out more about the Gays and other works, how would they go about that?
You want to take it, Larry? All right, I can take it. Please visit the Gaze series. That's GAZE series.com. We will open up those episodes after the festival runs.
Excellent. I just want to take a moment to say how excited I am to have you on my screen and to be able to sit down and take a moment to talk to all of you, and how excited I am to have you on the festival. And in this time when we're kind of coming back from a very, very complicated last year, it's really lovely to have some things that you really treasured there for you as we kind of begin the emergence into what hopefully is a new and improved version of what we had before. And I want to thank all of you for your time. Hopefully we have a lot of changes that we are in the midst of, and you are in the midst of helping move forward, and hopefully that new world that we are creating is going to be something we can all enjoy and equally appreciate. So I want to thank you all for your time, and have a great afternoon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.